All right, we're back again talking about the argumentative essay, but this time we need to look at the other side, which is con, the side that does not agree. So the question, once again, that these people are arguing about, should the sale of energy drinks be prohibited to people under age 18? Mr. Paul Pupil wrote the essay Quenched, where he's going to say, no, I do not agree with that. I'm con. You should not control whether children buy energy drinks or not. And I'm going to tell you why. This is why you should agree with me. Here's my evidence. Here's my evidence. And you can see my evidence, Paul's evidence, is coming from some of these places. The same video from Sharon Alfonsi, but he's using it to fight against this topic. You can see they use the same source to say pro or con. He got something from a science journal. He got something from a business magazine, something from New York Times, Los Angeles News, and this is Forbes magazine. So he looks like he read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sources, 6 articles, videos. He looks like he did his research. He didn't just make up this. He took time before he presented it to us. That is how we can win arguments in an intelligent fashion. By actually knowing what you're talking about. That means taking time to do your research before you start telling somebody, I'm right and you're wrong. Okay, people don't like it when you tell them I'm right and you're wrong, but you can have a conversation with somebody and invite them to see your good ideas with this good evidence. And perhaps you may pique their interest. Perhaps you may convince them that one point of your argument is right. People might not always agree with you, and that's okay. We're still going to try, and we're going to try in the format of an argumentative essay. So without further ado, that means let's just get started. Mr. Paul Pupil with his essay called Quenched. Many of us enjoy a warm cup of coffee to help get the day started. Later, we might grab a soda, chocolate bar, or energy drink to fix a mid-afternoon slump. Slump is when your energy goes down. Consuming these items should not be a crime, yet some legislators have decided to take aim at energy drinks, unfairly painting them as a public menace. Due to the suspected health risks that accompany these caffeinated beverages, many communities from Los Angeles to Chicago have considered laws banning the sale of energy drinks to people under age 18. That's coming from the article LA May Become. Such laws are well-intentioned, but short-sighted because the legislators' claim not only lack scientific support, but also insult responsible citizens. Proponents of the law change warn that energy drinks include excessively high amounts of caffeine that threaten the lives of our young people. That's a counterclaim because it says proponents. The truth, however, is that energy drinks pose less of a health risk than coffee. So they're saying some people say this. I'm telling you why they're wrong, because it's not as bad as coffee. In fact, an exhaustive study has shown that when compared to ounce for regular coffee, there's actually less than the amount of caffeine in a Monster energy drink than in a Starbucks standard house brew. That evidence is coming from Mr. DeSalvo's article. None of the lawmakers, of course, would ever argue that teens be barred from ordering an after-school latte or that coffee shops should be required to card patrons. Furthermore, cases of fatal caffeine toxicity in the U.S. are so rare that each is investigated by the Food and Drug Administration, also coming from DeSalvo. Interestingly, In all 5 of the cases studied in 2012, the FDA, so first we had Food and Drug Administration, the full name, and then the abbreviation FDA, concluded that caffeine consumed from energy drinks merely triggered a pre-existing heart condition in all of those patients, DeSalvo 2. There's no telling whether a strenuous workout or intense roller coaster ride could have set the same tragedies in motion, yet it would be ridiculous to outlaw those activities for millions of teens based on the heart conditions of a few. Also, it should be obvious to all consumers that excessively high consumption of not just caffeinated products, but any single product can cause unwanted effects. And now she's going to tell you why. Take, for instance, the case of 28-year-old California mother Jennifer Strange, who died of water poisoning after drinking 6 liters of water in 3 hours to try to win a Wii gaming console in a radio station contest, Valentine. So that quote about a mom who died from drinking too much water is coming from Valentine's article or source. I'm going to take a pause right here as the reader. Everybody in the world knows water's healthy for you. Most people, water, we're always saying, I need more water. They're saying, hey guys, energy drinks are not that bad because anything's bad if you have too much of it, even water. That is a very effective bargaining technique, okay? They're showing you even water can be healthy if you have too much of it. So that lady unfortunately died from drinking too much water in that radio station contest. Arguing that access to bottles of water needs to be restricted seems silly. Yet, that's precisely the same argument being launched against the energy drink industry. Until science can support the proposal, it's wildly inappropriate to alter laws based on a hunch. That's a feeling. Additionally, lawmakers and pediatricians, kid doctors, who support the law change say that young people cannot be trusted to regulate their consumption of caffeine and are being manipulated by slick advertising. These adults must not know any actual teens. If they spent any time with my circle of friends, they would discover that we are thoughtful and incredibly careful with our money. We take advanced classes, participate in sports and theater productions, and hold down part-time jobs. Each week, I work 15 hours at my family's restaurant, tutor a middle school girl in math 2 days after school, and manage my own heavy homework load, which often keeps me working past midnight. If I want to grab a Red Bull to help me push through a marathon work session, there's no harm done. In fact, my parents agree that since I'm earning 2 paychecks, cover my own car insurance and gas, and keep my grades high, I'm old enough to decide how to spend my own money. This is good practice for 2 years from now when I'll be out on my own, and to be honest, I like an occasional Red Bull. It's cheap, doesn't hurt anyone, and helps me get a lot accomplished. So this is what they were telling us in the presentation about that personal example. He's saying, hey, I'm so responsible. I'm like the perfect teen. I work, I tutor, I do this. And I like Red Bull. What are you going to do about it? That's effective arguing because he's showing he's basically a perfect teen. Anybody would want to have him for a son. He sounds great. He likes drinking energy drinks. So he's basically showing I'm such a good guy and I like this thing called Red Bull. So, that means it can't be bad. Okay, let's continue. So it helps him to get a lot accomplished. Finally, it's foolish to try to legislate what should be an obvious parenting responsibility. No sensible person would allow a 10-year-old to drink a Red Bull, slurp a 30-ounce big gulp, or devour an entire bag of chocolate bars. And this quote is coming from Edwards. Consequently, this is some of the language we might see in the templates of they say, I say. Consequently means as a result. No one has proposed prohibiting the sale of all junk food to minors because making this move would be unreasonable and unnecessary. Let parents do their job. And if there is a parent out there allowing Red Bulls, Big Gulps, and king-size Kit Kats to fill a child's belly, then that family faces bigger problems than could be addressed by a local law restricting access to energy drinks. Now we're getting to the end of the essay, conclusion paragraph, guys. Remember, he's going to once again remind you, little mini summary. Hey, this is what I talked about. One more time, listen up. This is why you should agree with me. Here we go. When one considers the absence of scientific proof, he told us that in the first paragraph, the desire for fairness in the marketplace and individual rights and liberties, it is clear that proposed laws to prohibit energy drink sales to minors should be defeated. In our country, it is difficult to change a law. The process encourages us to think through proposals and fully examine an issue before we ink a new rule that will govern all of our lives. After looking closely at this issue, it's obvious that the evidence simply does not support this ill-conceived legislation. This was good. He said, after looking at this issue, that's basically saying, hey guys, I did my research. I know what I'm talking about, so please agree with me. Okay? It's obvious that the evidence simply does not support this ill-conceived legislation. He's just saying the evidence isn't good. It doesn't support this ill-conceived. That's a fancy way to say bad. This says bad law. He's just saying it's an ill-conceived, bad legislation law. Okay? We looked at his sources, looking good. And that is it. This is my example of quenched. This was the example of a argumentative essay. So we saw how Mr. Paul Pupil even used the same news article as Polly Pupil. Perhaps they watched that in class, but they were both able to have different opinions and argue why they were right. They were both able to do it with the use of support from their works cited page, using evidence, using quotations. That's what we're going to start doing on this second last half of the class, because we want to have people agree with one of our ideas about making habits that's going to increase our quality of life. Thank you very much.